Over the last few decades, the video game industry has grown from being a niche little hobby for kids into one of the biggest forms of entertainment on the planet. However, despite this, very few video game characters have managed to integrate themselves into popular culture outside of their own medium. Ask any non-gamer to identify the likes of Solid Snake, Dante, Cloud, or Kratos, and they'll look at you with utter confusion. But they'll very happily be able to tell you about characters like Jumpman, Pizza Guy, Bluey, Chewie, Zelda, The Stick, and of course, Blue Suede Goo. You know, Blue Suede Goo? From Clay Fighter? Anyway, the point is not many of these gaming icons can claim to be that well known outside of the gaming world. But one that has managed to make the leap into the mainstream with a relative modicum success is the star of the Tomb Raider franchise, Lara Croft. Since the release of the original Tomb Raider back in 1996, Lara Croft has remained ever present in the consciousness of the general public, having skyrocketed in popularity thanks to her tight platforming mechanics, atmospheric exploration, and a massive set of firearms. Becoming the premier female gaming heroine, Lara has gone on to appear in many other forms of media. She's appeared on the cover of various magazines, starred in numerous TV adverts, has her own series of comic books and novels, an animated show, and 2 film franchises. The games themselves have had varying degrees of success, and over time the series itself has gone through a reboot or 2, with Lara trying her hand at a few different gameplay styles. Now sure, it's not to the excess of the likes of Mario. I mean, it's not like we're going to get something like Tomb Raider Kart. Yet. But a few years ago I came across a Tomb Raider game that is such an unusual concept that not even the plumber himself has done anything like this, and I just had to check it out. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Lara Croft Tomb Raider The Action Adventure. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this just looks like a regular old video game, there's nothing special about this. Well, if I move my thumb just a little bit, you'll see that you'll see that this is in fact not a traditional video game, but a DVD game. What? That's right, a video game that you can play on your DVD player. Around the same time of Tomb Raider's rise to fame, DVDs were starting to become increasingly popular, replacing the giant brick-like VHS tapes. Not only could they store entire movies with much clearer visuals, but they also included additional special features and menus with which to navigate to them. Some DVDs just did the bare minimum with boring static menus, and some tried to be a bit more dynamic, like showing clips from the film or hiding some features behind hidden Easter eggs. A few saw the opportunity to push the capabilities of these shiny discs and turned simple navigation into a grand adventure of its own, like with the Harry Potter DVDs that allowed you to explore the halls of Hogwarts and find all of its hidden secrets. Some were used as tools in board games to help enhance the fun, though they mostly came down to showing video clips that would lead into a question about said clip. Eventually, someone decided to do away with all the extra stuff and just create a game using the menu select system. This brings us back to our subject, an interesting experiment where Eidos Interactive teamed up with Bright Entertainment and Little World Studios to create a Tomb Raider game that can be marketed towards non-gamers with the intent of creating more should it prove to be successful. Considering this is the only one of its kind, I'm guessing that didn't work out. Exciting new DVD game. No games console needed, just your normal DVD. For the record, I'm actually using my PS2 to play this game because 1, I don't actually own a DVD player, 2, it feels more authentic this way, and 3, it's the only console that actually let me capture footage for this game. Lara Croft for everyone. Ooh great, I've always wanted my own Lara Croft. Easy to play. Well, there's no need to insult her. Alright, enough goofing around, let's get into this.
Hey, glad you could join me.
Hi Lara. Do you think you could back up a bit? Social distancing and all. So before you even get to a menu, you're greeted by Lara's eyes and taken through a tutorial on how the game works. When that's finished, you're welcomed to the main menu screen via Mortal Kombat style gong. And this is a pretty bland menu here. Nothing but an endless black void and occasional vague symbols popping up now and then. They could have used this blank space more effectively, even if all they did was use the same image from the box art. Initially, the developers wanted to use Tomb Raider Legend as a basis for the game, but were unable to as that game was still in development at the time. So they were stuck with using footage from the previously released game, Angel of Darkness, which has gained a reputation of being the worst Tomb Raider game ever. I didn't exactly have high hopes going into this, but now I'm even more worried than I was before. The opening text crawl tells us that Lara has gone to Paris to meet up with her old friend and colleague, Werner von Croy. This is despite the fact that Von Croy apparently left her to die the last time they met. Personally, Lara, I would have brushed him off, told him you're washing your hair or something.
Don't you think you've seen enough?
He wants Lara to help him find a set of artifacts called the Obscura Paintings for a client of his called Eckhart, but he's living in fear because the streets of Paris have been stalked by a serial killer called the Monstrum, and asks Lara to visit a colleague of his, Margot Carvier, to get more information. Lara agrees to help, but not before giving Von Croy a piece of her mind.
Eat it, Werner. You walked away and left me.
Get out!
During the struggle, Von Croy is apparently killed by Lara, and confused by what just happened, she goes on a run. This is where the gameplay portion of the game comes in, as Lara attempts to escape from the police. After watching Lara climb and leap across several rooftops, we're finally given a chance to do something, and our first obstacle is a door. And this is how the game works. By using the arrow buttons on your remote, you can select one of several options for Lara to take. Some choices will help her to progress, while others will result in her getting caught or killed, resulting in a game over screen that takes you back a few choices. You can also use the OK button to access a pause menu, but this mostly leads to an inventory screen that is almost useless save for one or two moments, and a help option that only reminds you of what you're supposed to be doing, as if you can somehow easily get lost in this game. After choosing the option to search, Lara runs around the corner to find a crowbar,
A crowbar.
which she uses to break the lock on the door, and inside she finds a wardrobe containing a gun.
A gun.
She then runs towards the edge of the roof, climbs along the side, drops down onto a balcony, and hides around a corner observing a guard. All of that came from one choice by the player. I was expecting to, at most, go around the corner, find the crowbar, and then have the option to use it on the door. But instead the game decided to go ahead and do the next few steps for me. It would be like if I was playing a dating sim and I asked a girl for a number, and then all of a sudden I'm getting married. This is one of the major flaws with this DVD game. The severe lack of control over what my character actually does. In a real game, I would have had the freedom to walk around, find out where I want to go, and then try to figure out how to get there. Even with games that have very linear progression, you still have enough room to explore and test out the limitations of what your character can do. This game gives you the illusion that you have options available to you, but ultimately it wants you to follow the particular path it has laid out for you. Some options may lead to bonus points, but ultimately end up at the same destination, and other options do nothing at all to progress the game in any shape or form. All you can do is make a choice and then watch the gameplay itself as some rather dull techno club music plays in the background. And honestly, in this day and age, is that really what people want? To watch someone else play a video game? I somehow don't see that catching on. Eventually we climb to the top of this hotel and escape to the roof, ending the first level. At the end of each level, you're given a number of points out of 5 depending on how well you did. There are 20 levels in total, adding up to 100 points overall. This doesn't exactly make me feel like I've accomplished something, especially when most of the in-game action is being done for me. I'm not exploring my environment and finding hidden secrets, I'm picking from limited options that may or may not lead me to extra points. You'll also receive a 5-digit code that will allow you to restart from that particular level. Fair enough, since DVDs don't actually have a save feature. But who on earth is taking enough regular breaks from playing this game that they need some way of continuing from where they left off? Now, while the game does mostly consist of picking from a handful of options in order to progress, it can throw in a bit of a variety from time to time. In the next level, after I somehow avoid being spotted by this helicopter searchlight, even though the pilot should clearly be able to see me, the game asks me to input a button sequence in order to move on. In fact, previously, it asked me to push the down arrow 3 times in order to move a dresser away from some stairs. This is your idea of variety? Occasionally getting me to do something other than pick between a few options? Lara manages to climb over the rooftops, survive a fall that definitely would have killed her, and escapes the police. In the next level, she arrives at Carvier's apartment and informs her of Von Croy's death. After receiving a notebook belonging to Von Croy, Lara is informed that the police are on their way. We now have the choice of searching the apartment or leaving. Some options will require you to make a decision before timer runs out. However, I'm curious, what does happen if you let the timer run out? Okay, the police arrive and we get a game over. Fair enough. Alright, let's search the apartment before we leave. Wait a minute, we still get a game over? How is that fair? I've been conditioned to search around in case I can get any more points, and now I'm being punished for that? Okay, fine, I'll pick leave. Lara jumps out of the window, somehow not breaking her legs, and that's the whole level. 2 choices and that's it. So a quick strategy guide for level 3 of the Tomb Raider DVD game, pick any dialogue option you want, and then
just leave!
And yet somehow I managed to get 3 points out of 5. There were only 2 things for me to do. Can you even get 0 points in this level? The rest of the game pretty much plays out in a similar fashion, with Lara travelling from location to location, completing various tasks that every so often offer up the vaguest sense of challenge. From memorizing button sequences and performing timed actions, to aiming crosshairs over a target and inputting codes into combination locks. At least with the latter, you have to search around a bit in order to find the code, but at this point it feels more like padding out the game rather than legitimate sleuthing, which is what Tomb Raider games are generally known for. You'll also end up having conversations with a number of characters with ridiculous French accents that can lead to some humorous one-liners.
Is this your pitch?
All Paris is my pitch.
And once in a while, the game will even let you choose what dialogue is said next. However, just like any other choice given to you, it has little impact on the story. Perhaps the most annoying thing about this game is this play safe option that keeps on showing up every now and then. I've ignored it for the most part, but after screwing up a few times in this underground section, my curiosity got the better of me and I decided to find out what it actually does. Turns out, it just plays the game for you and the next set of options are done automatically. Why would you do that? In a game where most of the player's actions are taken away from them already, you then give them the option to have them skip on even more gameplay? What is wrong with you? At this point I might as well go online and watch someone else play the game for me. So to cut a long story short, Lara finds out this Eckhart guy is the monstrum, and that he was the one who killed Von Croy, not Lara. Eckhart plans on using these powerful relics in order to resurrect some ancient deity from a forgotten race or something. Lara sneaks into his hidden fortress in order to stop him, the inside of which looks like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory if it was run by Albert Wesker. After solving a few more puzzles and dealing with Eckhart's freaky experiments, she confronts the mad scientist and takes him down, in a boss fight that consists of 1 easy memory game and 2 easy aiming games. Turns out though that he's not even the final villain, as one of his assistants reveals that he's a member of the ancient race Eckhart was trying to revive, and that in fact he was the one who killed Von Croy.
What a twist!
Another boss fight ensues that is somehow worse than the previous one. They even give you a damn play it safe option for crying out loud. Lara defeats the boss, walks out of the room, and that's it. It's over. You are winner. Credits roll, final score is shown, and you're booted back to the main menu. In total, the entire experience takes about 2 hours to play, though if you're skipping through the cutscenes it comes in much closer to the 30-minute mark, if it even gets there. I can't really think of much else that I can talk about. There's nothing that noteworthy to look at in the help menu other than the same tutorial from before, an overview of how the password system works, and a replay of the credits so you can at least find out the names of those responsible for wasting your time. I'm looking at you, Bruno Zebras. Perhaps the most bizarre thing to point out is that upon starting the game, you're asked to decide if you're playing with 1 or 2 teams, technically making this the first multiplayer Tomb Raider game before the 2013 reboot and the Lara Croft spin-off series. Though I'm pretty sure no one has ever uttered the phrase, "Who wants to come over to my place and play the Tomb Raider DVD game?" It's got multiplayer! I have a hard time deciding whether or not Lara Croft Tomb Raider The Action Adventure should be classified as a game, as it does the bare minimum to make that justification. I know that this form of interactive cinema is still being used in games today, but to their credit they're giving you control over how the story changes, and the fun comes from finding out how your decisions affect the overall narrative, for better or for worse. All this game does is ask you to push a button and then watch footage of someone else play the game for you, occasionally throwing in a mini-game to stop you from getting bored. There isn't any replay value other than finding out the different ways you can get Lara killed, but even that gets rather dull very quickly. Any future plans of turning more Tomb Raider games into interactive DVDs were scrapped after this one failed to live up to expectations. I've never actually played Angel of Darkness, but if I had the choice between that or this, even though it's considered the worst Tomb Raider game ever, I feel like I get a lot more enjoyment out of the real game than with this pale imitation. And the worst part about this whole experience is, the game ended up crashing on me after about half an hour, so I had to buy a replacement in order to finish playing it. I've had this poor excuse of a game sitting on my shelf unplayed for several years, and now I suddenly have 2 of the damn things!